Well, I wasn't. I was thinking I was going to have the opportunity to go live like normally on YouTube, but apparently, as soon as I started things up, we are live. So let's get into this and start talking about tonight's episode of Big Brother. First off, we're 50 minutes late. I guess we were pushed back by some extended football games this afternoon, and that's okay. I was a little worried about if we were going to miss out on the episode, but we got it. So everything is all good. And time to talk about some Big Brother. So, two main stories in tonight's episode. We have the HOH and the new nominees, just like every week, plus the voting drama. And the thing I find interesting about the voting drama is the only people worried about the voting drama are the people who voted to evict Tyler. You know, no one from the big alliance, well, I guess Danny and Nicole were, but like everybody else who voted out Ian, they weren't worried about it. They weren't concerned. You didn't see Memphis and Enzo and Cody running around trying to piece together the votes. Just didn't happen. You know, that big fear that, oh, I didn't vote with the house, now they're going to target me. It's total BS. Like, Davon isn't on the block right now because she tried to vote out Tyler. She's on the block right now because she has a no deal whatsoever with Memphis, and Memphis is using her and Kevin as pawns to go after David. That is just how it is. You know, there's nothing magical about this game. When you have the numbers, you go far. When you have the numbers, the decisions go your way. And this season, the committee has had the numbers all season long. They've got the numbers this week, and it doesn't seem like that is going to change in the near future. You know, we are winding down to the point where there's going to be massive infighting among that group. And I believe that people like Danny and Nicole have really positioned themselves poorly because their actions, in my opinion, have placed them down at the bottom of that totem pole for that alliance. And when they start stabbing each other in the back, those two backs are going to look pretty juicy. Let's talk about how David managed and navigated this whole voting fiasco. You know, it was almost immediately apparent that everyone was going to try to pin that blame on him. It was just obvious. You know, there was low trust levels there. Nicole and Danny, they duped him. They got him. And he fell and acted hook, line, and sinker exactly how they wanted. You know, as soon as it hits that moment where David realizes, like, yep, this is being pinned on me, I've been set up, he needed to use that to leverage himself more position in the house. Like, what happens if he goes and sits down with Enzo, Memphis, Cody, and Tyler and says, hey, look, Danny and Nicole came to me with a deal to vote out Tyler. The deal was we all vote 4 votes, name the names, and then Danny was going to be the decider to send Tyler home. If he takes that information to those guys and says, hey, look, I voted out Ian, I was the 5th vote, like, what are they going to do? Like, that changes things. You know, David's in a position, he's got no allies, he's got no one to trust. Why not swing? Why not take that big swing? Like, at worst, you've planted a huge seed of doubt about Danny and Nicole. You know, two people who, in my opinion, are already slipping down the committee totem pole. You've now potentially sunk their games, and best case, you potentially get yourself into a new alliance. You potentially get some allies. You know, if they're saying, hey, they were ready to take that shot, you know, why don't we just boot out Danny and Nicole and we'll bring in David? we're cool running as 5 till the end of the game now. They've still got the numbers, they've still got the power, and they got the ability to just keep going without Danny and Nicole. So that's kind of where I stand on that. But let's go back to the HOH. So HOH, it was won by Memphis. Pretty close battle, it looked like, between Memphis and Tyler. But it didn't really look like anybody else was all that close to winning. So Memphis wins. He's been gunning for David all season long. David is his target this week, even though he didn't put him on the block. Davon and Kevin are up there. But ultimately, the plan is to backdoor David and get him into the jury house. Just what a boring way to progress this season another week. Committee has controlled everything all season long. And that continues once again with Memphis winning the HOH. There's been so many HOHs this season, and you just see who wins, and it's just an eye roll. Let's move on to the next week, because we all know how things are going to go down, and that's it. So once again, this is one of those weeks, and we're one step closer to the point in the game where people are actually going to have to start playing. I hope, all season long we've been hoping one of the underdogs wins something. Just hasn't happened. And as the numbers dwindle down here, it's looking like the committee could run things all the way to the top 6 or 7 before having to implode. Last thing I want to talk about, how about those have meeting? So we have, I think it was David and Davon. They were the 2 exiting have-nots. They get to name new people to be have-nots. Davon names Christmas, and Christmas is just fuming. And it's why wouldn't she name you, Christmas? You did just have her on the block, and Christmas is so what? I put you on the block. You're gonna hold that grudge? It's yes, she's gonna hold that grudge, Christmas. Why wouldn't she hold that grudge? Everyone would hold that grudge. That is the most obvious thing to hold a grudge about of all time. Very, very bizarre to me. And I just don't get Christmas's anger just in general all season long, especially the last few weeks here. And then we see David name Cody. And just another one of those moments where you're just oh, buddy, why? You just had potentially Nicole stab you in the back. Why not name her? Why not name Danny? Why not name someone who is directly sabotaging your game? I'm sure if he had the choice, he would have named Memphis. And the logic says he thinks Cody and Memphis are close, so you can't name Memphis, you name Cody. But it was just brutal for Cody. He just finishes cooking the huge taco dinner for everybody before he gets a chance to make himself a plate of the meal he cooked for the entire house. David names him a have-not. So, have-nots might seem like a simple thing in the house, but I think that could be the moment that inevitably seals David's fate on this season. All right, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about here for Big Brother tonight. I'll be back again on Wednesday for the veto. I know the veto's already been played, but we'll just wait until Wednesday before we jump in and start talking about it. And of course, back again Thursday for another eviction. I've been really hoping for a double eviction this season, and maybe we get one in the next week or two. Would really shake things up in the house, I feel, and a much needed breather for this game that has just been an absolute steamroll all season long. All right, that's it for me tonight. As always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, we'll see you later.